And now let me introduce Julia. Head of the HR and Controlling at acib, Julia Studencki is an HR expert of professional development with a vast experience in accounting, financial management, marketing, and public relations. Today, Julia will share her tips and tricks about the most common questions in a job interview. And before Julia continues with her presentation, I would also like to read her description of the talk that she will give us today. If you were a pizza, which topping would you be? Looking forward to sharing insights on the most common job interview questions. It won't be about, this is how you should answer. The internet is full of this. It will be about the intention behind a particular type of question. Because knowing this, it is much easier to deal with any type of question, even a paradox one. And then Julia decided she would be Margarita, classical and good. Julia, whenever you are ready, please share your screen.
Thank you, Anja. Thank you for the very nice and perfect introduction. I will start to give you insights. What is the motivation behind the job interview question? As you told, I also announced it on LinkedIn because I think this is even more important than to go through questions and practice them. So you should see my screen now. And now we will start. So just a few words about me. Anja, you told me, or you told something about me already, but so I have more than 15 years of work experience now. I'm responsible for HR matters at acib, the Austrian Center of Industrial Biotechnology, and I am located now in Stivol, in Styria. So here I am sitting in my cellar, doing my presentation from here. So maybe just a few words about acib, because we heard it today, and Karina, she also worked at acib during her master thesis, I think. So acib is a multidisciplinary research center on the between science and industry. So we are no university, but we are no industry, but we are working on cooperative industrial projects. So like the bridging the gap between science and industry. So maybe for the postdoc experience, this is a great way to make it, because here at acib we already have get in touch with industrial partner and industrial problems. So enough from employer branding. Visit our homepage, I invite you. So let's get into the theme. What I would like to do with you is that you can stamp my screen. And I would like you to show how this should work. This is in German because I am a German speaking one. So, but if you go with your mouse on the top of your screen, there should appear something like showing options or options. And then there should be the possibility to choose comment or kommentieren. And then you should be able to stamp, stempeln, stamp. And then this should enable you to stamp my screen directly while I'm presenting. So maybe we will try it out here. So try it out. What's the weather like outside where you are sitting right now? Is it windy? Is the sun shining? Is it raining or snow? Maybe somebody from the Western Austria is here, or you don't know because you're only sitting on your PC. So maybe you try to stamp. If it doesn't work, we will find another. We will find another possibility to interact a little bit. Okay. I don't think that it works, that you are not able to stamp it. So yeah, then write it in the chat. Then we will do it with the chat, maybe just to check in, to warm up. So how are you, a dog? Okay, we have 3 dogs here. But I think it's very windy, yeah. For Eastern Austria and also here in Styria, it's very windy. So we also have a storm warning for tonight. Okay, so we are all these dogs here, mainly. So get ready for the storm. in Vienna and in Styria, there is a warning tonight. Okay, so we will do the interaction then via chat. Okay, so just jump into the theme. So what types of questions? So HR departments, when they are involved in the selection process, what they usually are, they have somehow a bundle of different questions. So a bundle of different questions to ask. If it's a bigger company, then they have it more professional. If it's a small company, it's more out of the stomach somehow, so like getting a feeling for the person. But if you're at BI, for example, and applying there, they have for sure a good plan what to ask you to find out if you're the right person for this job. So just to give you there are some so-called traditional questions. They are really old school. They don't really tell anything about you. So they are like, tell something about you. Or what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Why should we hire you for this position? So this open question, these traditional questions, you can find them in job interviews, but they are more or less to check if the sympathy is okay and if you are prepared. So if you don't have an answer to these questions, it's hard to make a good first impression, because this also shows that you didn't even Google what type of job interview question you could expect. So my tip is here just to go, do a Google research and take a look what they say. For example, if you have the question, that's the classical one. What I think nobody asks this anymore. At least we don't ask this, but it's a very traditional one. Like, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? So I put in the chat also a workbook. Maybe you found it. That's a PDF I prepared for another workshop. No, I prepared only for you for this session now, where you can find some more details on the things I'm telling you now and also some tips here. So for example, this strengths or weaknesses questions, you will always find the tip, don't tell your weaknesses. Tell a strength that has some negative points. So for example, I'm so perfectionistic and impatient with myself that I sometimes offend others. So if this fits for the position. So just don't say, oh no, oh my weaknesses, oh I know, I'm so bad. Oh, don't answer this. Try to turn it around. But there are more or less more to check if the sympathy fits and if you are prepared. Then there are so-called motivation questions. They want to figure out what motivates you. So, and if the company can also offer this to you, because it's always about the perfect match. You have to fit into a company and the company has to fit to you. So here it's one part is to find out if you are willing to perform, and on the other hand, to find out what motivates you. So for example, these are questions like, what does it take for you to really be in the flow and step on the gas within the scope of work, for example? Or my favorite one is, let's say a fairy godmother offers you the job where you can't stop smiling. What would this task look like? So what would this job be like? My tip here is try to make a connection to the position you're applying for. So when you're applying for a scientist, then don't say with this fairy godmother, oh, I would like to be an artist. So try to find something that's also fitting into this job. But be honest and authentic. It makes no sense to lie, because then after a few months, you have the big problem in the job because you don't fit there. And then the most common one nowadays are situational questions. They are like, imagine you're in this and this situation, how would you react? Like a little role play. Or think of a situation where it was important that teamwork worked out fine, for example. Because then here it will be checked how you deal with challenges and how is your behavior in certain situations. So, because these are the most common questions by now, so at least in the literature and at least in the human resource departments, this is is suggested to go into situational questions. I want to give you a tip here how you can practice them somehow, because there is a clear line you should follow in answering such questions. This is so-called the STAR method. When you are asked such a question, then describe the situation you were in, the tasks you were facing, the actions you took, and what was the result of this situation. And also you can add a reflection. So for example, one question might be, are you good at teamwork? And can you give an example to this, how it worked out? So with this kind of question, somebody puts you in the past and wants to know from your history, how did you react in a situation that is important for us? So for example, for this position, teamwork is very important, or challenging, maybe also, could also be. And the interviewer wants to find out, how do you deal with teamwork? So let's see at this question, for example, you could, situation, okay. During my studies, I had to do a research project with a group of fellow students. So this was the situation where you were confronted with teamwork. What were your tasks? So my task was to keep an overall view and make sure everyone completed their tasks on time. So that's something you had to do there. Then I created, for example, what did you do? What was your action? So how did you behave with this responsibility? So I created an overview of all tasks and deadlines and made sure everyone made the deadlines. And what was the result? It was great. No, I did a good job. And if you would like, you can also add a reflection. So for example, there was something that didn't work out fine, but I learned from this. So this situational question. So remember when you were in a situation where you had to deal with, I don't know, unfriendly colleagues, for example, or whatever fits for the interviewer that he or she asks you, when it goes in this direction. So remember a situation where then keep this in mind, this STAR rule, because then you can answer really structured and in a good way. My tip. Yes, and now one short question, which I answered already. I would like to stamp, but that's not possible, but you can write it in the chat. So if you were a pizza, what would be your topic? Topping, not topic, topping. Let's see. Unfortunately, here are 2 answers, 3. So we have diavolo, ananas, ham and cheese, top, middle, rucola and pecorino. Okay, so we have very different peperoncino, or a hot one. Okay. Right bottom. Okay, that's fungi, mushrooms. Okay, chili. Yeah. Okay. So when you get such a question, your reaction will be like this, huh? What the hell? But this type of questions get more popular. They are called paradox questions. These paradox questions sound very freaky. They can also be, for example, do you often, okay, that's really, can you sell me this pen? Or are you willing to live in a shared flat with colleagues? Or would you fill a tank even if it was already full? Or, what role in the sports club do you associate your leadership position with, for example? So completely out of the frame. So this margarita thing or this pizza thing is really, really out of the frame. Could be also if you were a fruit. But they have... I like to ask them if I'm allowed to. So I ask also always the working group leader if I'm allowed to, but I like them because they show the creativity. How do you deal? More important than the answer of this question is how you deal with this question. So like, I will never answer such a stupid question, for example, is not the best way to react. And it also should check your analytical skills. Because the next question after what topping would you have would be and why. So for example, pepperoncino because I have fire, because I'm fully motivated, or like me, margarita, classical but good. So to put this into a connection somehow to your habits. My tip is here, react with, this is, for example, to gain time. This is a good question. And then breathe and then answer. But to take some time for you. So this type of questions are commonly asked if the position is somehow related with creativity skills and with getting to know you. So I like them I like them in science also, because it somehow puts out your real personality. Okay, the breakouts. Oh, sorry, I wanted to do this, but we won't do this because it's not possible. I have to announce it before when we want to do breakout sessions, so we will do it another way. So in the breakout session, I would ask you the question, because you're all studying. So for example, if in the interviews somebody asks you, but you're already aware that studying is absolutely unnecessary for a professional advancement, then this is called a stress interview question. Might be used. It comes from the military. And in this case, somebody wants to check your reaction. Sorry, and I have some problems with the animation. Genau, yes. So, for example, this can also be, don't you think this position is a bit above your abilities? So this is something the interview asks you to provocate you, to get you out, your personality somehow, to check your reaction and if you're secure or not. Maybe these questions are useful when you're applying for a leadership position, for example. So how do you deal in stress situations? Do you freak out or do you stay calm? I don't like them personally, because it also reflects something from the company culture, how the interviewer, how the company deals with you. Because I think that's not fair to put somebody under stress. But they might be there. So if this comes along in a job interview, don't freak out. Think, okay, this is now a stress interview question and I won't give you the chance to see me to freak out. I stay calm. And then you can think if you even want to work there. So my tip here is you might use the phrase, the opposite is the case, and then answer something different. So for example, don't you think this position is a bit above your abilities? Breathe, say, the opposite is the case. I'm perfectly qualified and I'm highly motivated and I'm sure that I can do the tasks perfectly. So this, the opposite is the case, is a trick from public relation. When politicians get confronted, maybe now we have no government courts anymore, but when we had that government, you heard this a lot. So das Gegenteil ist der Fall in German. The opposite is the case. So this is the tip from public relation experts to react on questions you can't deal with. The opposite is the case, and then say something completely different that doesn't even have to do with the thing that somebody asked you. And then there are some other type of questions also. But they are not so spectacular. Let's say it that way. That are biography questions. This is like taking the best profit of the future is the past. So the interviewer takes a look at your CV and takes a look in what situations you were and asks you, for example, how was it at Boku when you studied there? So going back in your history, but they are more like, that's not really tricky. So there's no bigger plan behind it. but just to hear you talking and to, maybe a real interest in the position, what we had there. Then the CV-related questions. Okay, they are like, you did some things shown in your CV, so you can do something, but the position affords this type of skills, and do they fit to find this out? So the CV-related questions, so tell me something about your CV. What was your position there? What did you do there? They want to check if you can have the skills needed for this position. My tip here is when you're asked, tell me something about your CV, then don't retell your CV because they read it already. Try to make somehow a little bit a story out of it. Let's say it that way. So what I really enjoy working in a dynamic work environment. I love science and the creativity there. Therefore, I started to work this and this. So just try, not only, okay, I started after my studies, I made this and this and this, because this is like everybody can read. Try to tell why you did it, and you can practice this in a really good way because you know your CV. And that's also a question I like to ask, because this is more than like, tell me something about you. So concrete, tell me your CV, what was the most important thing, to hear somebody speaking. And then the realistic job interview it's called. So this is like, these are the benefits of the job, these are the negative points of the job, and that's the way can you deal with it. And you can decide. So like giving you the interview gives you a preview in your future work environment, in your future tasks, and really tells you, okay, this is the positive thing, but you have to face also this and this. You have to deal with stress. You have to do something with the customer or something like this. And so how does this sound to you? And this is really a realistic thing. There is no trap, no trick. I like this also, so I do this also. So because it's about the perfect match. I said that before. It is not useful or it's not good to hire somebody who leaves after 1 or 2 months, because that's the most expensive thing that can happen for an employer, because then the position has to be re-announced. The selection process has to be again done, the onboarding and so on. So it's not in the interest of the employer, as well as not in your interest, to go into a job profile where you don't fit in. Yes, so these are the insights into the type of questions. I have then also prepared some other slides if you have time, but maybe we make here a break and try and give the possibility to ask something. So do you have questions?
Yes, there is a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Would you say that besides the major... Oh, no, there is... I think that's a question for the previous presenter. Are there any questions for Julia, maybe? Fiona wrote... Okay, there is. But maybe first of all, Fiona wrote that there is another possibility to answer the stress question. I hope it's a bit above my current abilities, so I can grow into it and be challenged, but I'm sure I have the right abilities and attitude just now to handle it. Yes, what do you say? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to this concrete stress question, yes, that's a good answer. So, but I love challenges, and yes, that's a good answer to this.
Mm-hmm. So there is a question by Melanie. How to best react if someone asks an inappropriate question like, do you have a partner, to figure out the woman's family planning, etc.?
Don't answer. It depends. So interviewers are not allowed to ask these questions. But yeah, you won't go to court because you're asked this kind of question. So usually this should not be asked. I would never ask it because it's not allowed. My tip to deal with it is I would say as a woman, and in my experience, what would make an impression on me is that I would say self-confident that this kind of question is not appropriate. And what has my partner to do with this? Or this is my private thing. But or you are also allowed to lie. Yeah.
Okay.
But if it's really an inappropriate question, I would say this. Because there's also somebody else asked me or told me that somebody asked her what her father says that she applies for this job. So these are really inappropriate questions, and you can really also answer that this is an inappropriate question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. There is another question by Julia. Is it a good sign to receive a paradox question because the interviewers are interested in the applicant, or you asking them to anyone, even if the interview is going badly?
No, I don't ask them everyone. So if it's going good, and for me personally, then I ask also a paradox question. If it works out not fine, then I will not do it, because then it makes no sense to get more in deeper contact somehow. So I can say from my personal experience, yes, it's a good question, a good sign. If it's asked as the first question, then yeah, it's no sign. But if it's asked during the question, but just that you don't wonder, I wanted to tell you that this is a trend in the HR's departments to go in this direction also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how about the compensation package? When is it a good time and strategy to deal with the issue?
The compensation package is not really a job interview question. When it's asked, it depends. Maybe there is a second round, maybe it's not even addressed. If it's not asked in the interview, from the interviewer, I would not really ask for it. Usually it is asked, or it is a point that you can discuss or you can talk about. So if it comes to the timeline, then yes, talk about it. If it's not even asked by the interviewer, then there's usually a second round or something like this, or it's completely clear what to pay. But from your side to tell you, yeah, let's talk about the money, is a little bit tricky. But usually after the questions, then there is, okay, you saw we will pay this and that. And what is your expectation, or what do you expect? Is this fine for you? Then you can go into the discussion. Mm-hmm. Or do you mean from an interviewer point? Or from the interview, or who, when you get interviewed? Okay, let's go. Maybe it's coming back. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want more questions, or are you ready to continue with your presentation? Because we have 3 more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So one example of stress question Ayla posted is, aren't you overqualified for this position? So how would you advise us to react when asked this question?
The opposite is the case, because there are so many things and aspects in this position I didn't deal by now, and I want to see how an industrial company works. The opposite is the case. No, that's not correct, because when you say that's not correct, then you criticize your interview partner. But when you say no, the opposite is the case, there are so many things that the company could offer me where I can go deeper into it, or I want to step one step back to learn this from the beginning, for example.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Leila is wondering what questions are wise to ask the person who is interviewing you. So the interviewee.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
What questions are wise to ask as an interviewee?
Okay, we can come to this later on, but it's get prepared and take a look at the employer. You take a look at the company you are applying for, and ask questions where the company has the feeling that you have dealt with it. For example, I have a slide for this also. We can go there then. About the company culture. Take a look at Kununu, where you find the company, where you, so what about flexible working hours, for example? Or, don't embarrass the one you're asking. So like your strategy sounds pretty annoying or not sure, or I'm not sure what the company is really dealing with. So don't embarrass your interview partner, but show interest. Also, what about home office, home working? Everything is somehow allowed. Everything which you're interested in. The questions you are asking shows what are your interests. So if the first thing you ask is if you can work from home, then this question shows the interview partner that this is the most important thing for you. If that's good or not, I don't know. So try to think what is the most important thing for you to know and start with this question, because for me, this is very important. What is the first question? Because this is for me, I see what is the most important thing. So if the first question is what about the development possibilities, then I know, okay, that's going, there is somebody who wants to make career. Can be good or not, but be aware of that. The first question might be the most important, should be the most important for you.
Thank you, Julia. And Dina is wondering, when is the best time point to apply for a position? Months or half a year before you finish, for example, one PhD?
Usually companies want you to start to work immediately. If they have a position open, usually, so in business, you usually have a 6 week of notice period. So if you're not coming directly from the study, so if you're from another employer, so this is the period every interviewer, every company thinks they can wait 6 weeks, because this is the usual notice term period. Nobody expects you to start on the next day usually. But 6 months before is a little bit early. Because even if you are the right person for this job, the company might not want to, or is not able to wait 6 months that you can start, because they need to have somebody now.
Thank you. And maybe now, last question. For which things, details are you personally watching out when receiving a CV application, and also during the interview? For example, body language.
When I receive a CV, I love structure, so that I can really figure out what were the main stations. So a structured one. This is the CV. If you add, that's my tip, if you add a letter to it, so a motivation letter or somebody like, or something like writing something to it, then don't start with "to whom it may concern" or "dear ladies and gentlemen." This is very unpersonal, and for especially "to whom it may concern," that's really like, I'm writing this to 100 companies and you are one of the list, and that's my tip in the motivation letter or in the letter you put to your CV. During the interview, I made a lot virtual now, but during the interview, so the body language, the whole appearance, let's call it that way. So it's also different what kind of position we are looking for. If you are looking for, let's call it a computer nerd, then it's not really important, how the one looks like, or if you're working in the lab and so on. But self-confidence, that you you're prepared for the interview, that you're not just jumped out of bed because now I have the interview. So like putting not a suit, but a jean and a polo, for example, on and have clean shoes just to show respect or like appreciation or thank you that I was invited. Not because it's then so important when you work there, maybe, but it depends on the position. So, but I have no checklist for the body language. It's the whole appearance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are more questions coming. I don't know. Maybe it's time you continue the presentation.
No, we can go on because the other things are add-ons. So okay. They are not really related with the type of questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah? And if you do not have a contact, but it's part of a HR system, how would you begin the letter of motivation, for example?
Dear personnel or recruiting team, dear HR department, something like this. Or you can find it out. Maybe they have a career page. Usually companies have a career page. Maybe you find there the responsible person. Yes, it's a puzzle piece. It's not the most important thing. So if you don't know, or maybe in the application, so in the job offer, you also find the name. That could also be possible. Yes. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have on the dear HR team, dear recruiting team, or something like this. Or dear madam and sirs is also okay, but not to whom it may concern. Yeah.
Okay, then I guess you also answered Julia's question by answering this. So she wondered how to find out whom to address in a motivation letter. Usually only a branch of the company is named in. Mm-hmm. Yes, are there any other questions in the chat maybe in the meantime?
Yes, we can come back later also. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is now bonus, more or less. But also important, and as I wanted to give you something like how to prepare for a job interview. Yes, this is, you never get a second chance for a first impression. Sorry. And this is my personal message, my really, really personal message, and I want everybody to hear is storytelling. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. So that does not mean you have to lie, but try to put your CV into a story. Try to put the why. Why are you the right candidate for this position in a story for you? Why do you want this job? Be aware of this story. Nobody maybe will ask you, tell your story. That would be a very fancy question. But if you have this in mind, then you can answer also the questions better. So why are you? Try to tell yourself the story, why I am the perfect person for this job. Why do I want this job? And try to find this out. And here one tip. I won't do this. We won't look at that video, but I can really, really recommend it to you. Simon Sinek. I don't know if you know him. He's a bestseller author, and he's really great. It's about how inspiring people communicate, and they always put the why first. So why am I doing this? Why does a company do this? And then the what, and then the how. So start with the why. This is my personal message. So why am I applying? What is the sense? You can take a look at the video, but we won't take a look now. And regarding storytelling, I just want to give you, just think about it. Maybe it's not yours, then forget it. But just maybe think about it. It's also about scientific storytelling. You can also use this if you present a poster or if you're talking about your science. It's the so-called 4-sentence rule. It starts with a statement. For example, I am the perfect person for this job. This is a statement. Then you give a reason, because my whole life I was working to get into such a position, for example. So I'm improving now. Then one example or story that underlines your statement, and a conclusion or a call for action. For example, this is why you should hire me. You find also an example in the workbook. But this is the 4-sentence rule or storytelling. Here you find just assertion, proof, examples, and call for actions. If you go on a scientific communication webinar, a modern one, then you will find this also there. So start with a statement and tell the story. Then also very important for me, also a personal management message from my side is it's all about the perfect match. So from both sides, from you and from the employer. And therefore, maybe you can activate a little bit the Sherlock Holmes in you when you prepare for a job interview. What do I mean with this? Take a look at the company culture. Where do you find something? How the company? So the company culture is meant. What does the company? So how does it present itself? Is it collegial? Do they have a very strict hierarchy? Do they have young people, older people? Okay, where do you find this out? You can check Kununu, for example. I don't know if everybody knows Kununu or Glassdoor. These are employer rated portals where real employees give insights. They are not given from the company. So when you go to the acib page, we can't influence what people write there. We can only react to the things they write there. So these are real insights. For example, yes, if you are applying at PI, it's pretty hard maybe to find the company culture because there are many divisions. But maybe you know somebody via LinkedIn who works there from the ÖGMBT network, the ILSA, for example, then call or something like this. No? Then take a look at the career page, the employer branding. So what does the company wants you to think about the company? The employer branding is the marketing of a company. So there are the key messages on the career pages, what they want you to think, why this is a great employer. This might also be a good starting point to ask questions. So when they say in the employer branding, we appreciate the flexible work surrounding, then you can ask, what does this mean in detail? So I like that. I like that aspect. Maybe could you give me an example or something like this? Yes, questions. Think of questions. Then the salary. If it comes to the compensation package, then be aware what you want to earn. So make a salary comparison. So you should know what you want to earn. You can find also on Kununu, if you registered there, you can find a salary check. So you can type in postdoc position in Vienna in the field of, and then you get somehow a range. What is the salary in this position? And then please tell the yearly gross salary. I put it here in many languages because this is not the net you want to earn, but the gross salary. So before deduction of tax and before deduction of social contribution. this has something to do with professionality. Because if you say the net salary, this is something that's really important for you, because this is the thing that is in your purse after the month. But it's very, very hard to influence the concrete amount from the employer, because it depends if you have a family allowance, if you have this and this and this and this, 1,000 things. So yes, be aware what you want to earn net, but then calculate it to the gross salary. You can do this in Austria. We have the so-called Brutto-Netto-Rechner from the Arbeiterkammer. There you can calculate it back to what does this mean in a gross salary. And you can also ask for, I don't know if everybody knows what fringe benefits are, freiwillige Sozialleistungen. Many companies offer that ones. That are things like public transportation, that the public transportation, the climate ticket is paid, or that you get food vouchers. So these are things you get without tax deduction, and could be nice benefits. But usually you find, if companies offer fringe benefits, you find this on the career page, because then they are proud that they do it. But think also about that one, because this is really something also very nice and can make a difference if you go only for the salary and compare to employers. Also, these fringe benefits that are offered can make a difference. Yes, and then the last point I would have prepared is who to face in a job interview. Maybe we can just walk through. And this is, I'm from my basic education. I'm a tax consultant, and this is my most favorite answer was always, it depends. And this is also the answer on this who to face. It depends. But just to give you an idea who you could face. You could face the line manager, so your direct supervisor, the HR department, maybe also, the Works Council. In some cases, even the CEO, so the chief of the company, or sometimes also colleagues, future colleagues could be in a job interview. Okay, so this tells you nothing. So everybody somehow. But it depends on the size of the company, on the one hand, who you usually face. If it's a small company, it might be possible, a really, really small one. So if you go to a startup, for example, it is not unlikely that you see there the CEO. Because in this small size, he or she wants to get the right people with the right spirit and mindset. And your line manager, probably. Usually they don't have an HR department at all that's dealing with this. In a bigger company, it's most likely to face the HR department and your line manager. And in a big company, it also might be possible that the Works Council is there, Betriebsrat. But they are usually there to make sure that everything runs correctly, and that you're not discriminated and so on. Then it also depends on the selection process. So if there is a first round, a second round, and a third round, for example, might be that there are more rounds, then you usually see in the first round the HR department only. So you don't even meet your supervisor, your future supervisor, because they make somehow a dropout. No? Checking the formal criteria, the first impression, and then you go further to the line manager. And then maybe if there's a third round, because it's a really high position, you meet there then the CEO. And also be aware that it might be possible that you don't even see the company in the first round, because there are a lot of recruiting consultants around there doing the recruiting for the companies. You might see also that sometimes you don't even know for what company you are applying for in the job announcement. And it also might be possible that you're at this recruiting consultant doing the job of the HR department, so like sorting out hard checklists, checking something. And my tip is here, ask. If you're invited to a job interview, then you're an interesting candidate. And then you can also ask, sorry, but I would be interested who I will face in the job interview. That's a good question, even because I want to prepare or something like this, or just you want to know. But what I can tell you is what the roles of the different people might be in a job interview. So if you meet your line manager, your future supervisor, then there is clearly the expertise in the focus. Take a look if you fit into his team, if the expertise is fine. The HR department usually is there to tell you the conditions, so to talk about the compensation and benefits, to present the company as an employer, that's the best employer of the world, and that you should get no money to work here because it's so great to work here somehow. No, joking. But more or less, if the HR department is also there, the role is the conditions. If you meet the CEO, then it's going into the direction to fit vision. Do you fit into the vision, into the mindset of the company, into the targets the company has? So you are on a strategic level somehow. And a future colleague, that's the cultural fit. Sometimes I also invite future colleagues with the aim, take a look if the chemistry fits, if the person fits into your team, if you feel comfortable. And the Works Council, I told you already, they are more or less to take a look at the process that everything runs fine. Yeah. Okay, 5:30. We are in time. Mm-hmm. So we can again we have some minutes or 30 minutes for questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is already one question in the chat. Yeah. Do we have examples of really outstanding points in a CV or motivation letter?
Outstanding. In the motivation letter, I'm happy when I have the feeling that the person has read the position and takes and really tells me the strengths and why the strengths do fit into this position. So to make the connection between the advertised position and the motivation letter. So this position really sounds like I'm getting challenged and I'm a person who really loves to get challenged. So telling a story fitting to the job description we are looking at. So really something completely outstanding. No. Can't think of something where we're really, really, really impressed and I have to share with you. So I'm impressed from motivation letters that that are related to the job position we have advertised, and where I see that the candidate already took a look at the homepage from our company. But I think there's a current trend also, because we have also here young scientists, and I would like to discuss this also with you. That companies in the war of talents switch to application processes done by WhatsApp chatbots, so that you get people to apply. Because if you're not BI or if you're not Sando, so if you don't have such a big employer branding thing where everybody wants to work there, it's getting harder to find people. In science, so in our related positions, we don't really now see this war of talents, but I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, also in this case, there will be things. What do you think about the selection process, the application process? Should it be easier to apply? Or are you willing to invest time when you apply for a position? So like doing with chatbots, only getting questions, So you can see, for example, the job announcement in the tram, and you can apply immediately for this job position.
You can write short answers in the chat.
Yeah.
Or unmute yourself, of course, if you want to speak up.
Yeah. But you can also ask me questions, so no problem. It's not really authentic. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, willing to invest time. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Because we were thinking about this in the scientific area, but I think this is not a really good idea in the scientific framework. So if you're looking for PhD students or scientists, I don't think that this is the right format. Yeah, willing to meet real people. Yes, you would meet then real people in the company when you are invited to the job interview, not but the application form. There's a big trend in this to go into this direction. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There was another question somewhere up here. How long does the job interview last?
Oh, that also depends. That depends. In our case, so when we are hiring PhD students or scientists, usually the first round is about 20 minutes, not to get a first idea. Then maybe there's a second round where we go in more detail, but not more than 30 minutes in our case. So you heard from Karina that she had six hours job interview. That sounds like a little assessment center she had. So in our case, in a smaller company, we have 200 employees, 30 minutes. And if we want you to prepare something, you know it before. So if you need to do a presentation or something like this.
I think Kevin wants to ask something. So Kevin, you can unmute yourself and speak up, of course.
Hey, Julia, thanks for the talk. So I was just curious, when having the interview with the HR department, I guess that you already had some interviews before, so they're actually quite considering taking you. Then if you haven't talked about the salary range before, how much can you then overshoot, kind of, knowing that you already have a kind of a good chance to getting the position and they want you, and the HR person is more there to actually, get you on board with their conditions? How much can you shoot over what your actual range is, or what you think you will get? Thanks.
That's a really good question. I would say something realistic, not like 30% more, because I think we can then come together on a lower amount, like really negotiating, going into with a big salary, and then we will fit together at a realistic amount. This is not really useful. So be aware what you want to earn and what your position is worth. So really do this salary check. I would really recommend you to get an idea what companies pay in these positions. Usually you find the job advertisement minimum salary. This minimum salary is the minimum salary, but I would say more than 30% of this minimum salary is really unusual. Does this answer your question anyway?
Yeah, I was just curious, when I say my range would be 40 to 50,000 per year.
Yeah.
Then if I have the meeting with the HR department, I should go to, let's say, something that is completely in the middle, like 45 or 50, or if it doesn't really make a difference for them, if I say first 60 and they're like, no, that's not in our range, but what we were expecting was like 45, and it doesn't make a difference then, not that I'm probably underselling myself. Maybe
if you have the range 40 to 50, I would go in with 50, not with 60.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I heard the story that also from the other side, that there was a job interview and they told him the salary, and the guy just stood up and left the room. No comment. Like, okay.
Thanks, you.
Mig, you can ask the question by unmuting yourself if you want to, if that's what you are raising hand for.
Is mentioned to me?
Yes, we can hear you. Hi.
Okay. Thank you, Julia. Welcome. So I have a very straight and directly question, because I would like to, before the question, I would like to share a little bit my own story. I think 5 months ago, I started searching for a job here around. As from my name, as you can say, I'm working in Medical University of Innsbruck, and I'm from China. I sent out my applications to many companies. Well, unfortunately, almost no interview invitation. So my boss, the head of the institute, and the colleagues around all said must be something wrong I did. So currently, the whole institute are reviewing my application documents, and every one of them said it's fine. For them, they said it's quite okay. CV is great, motivation letter, everything fine. But they also curious why is no interview invitation even. That's interesting, and they also even checked the positions what I applied, and to try to fit to my CV. They said it's quite match. And is that because, my question is that because I'm a foreigner? I can speak German, but not that good. As a HR, is that the very critical part for you to judge candidates, or really the background of your or your ability, your publication, whatever others, and or yeah, that's the question. How many chance for a foreigner to get?
There is it's not allowed to discriminate people because of their nationality, first of all. But for sure, you can tell when you not even get invited and who to judge. So in our case, we are an international research center. We take every application from every nation under consideration, so it makes no difference if your CV is good and your publication track, for example, is good, and so on. But I heard it also from other sides that there was an open discrimination, like you don't have a visa, so we can't apply, we can't onboard you. So in reality, unfortunately, in some cases,
that's not my case.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm the permanent resident here, so it's open. So for the work positions, it's open ability. I was a little bit interesting stories. My colleagues, some of them even use my CV as templates to generate theirs. And they start 2 months ago. Some start 2 weeks ago. Those people are even get invitation. Some of already got a position. So that's the very for me. I cannot say it's negative, because I can understand all over the world is the same. Two colleagues of me, if already use my CV as templates to apply positions, they got the offer already. And several of them are in the interview phase, but I still waiting for the interview invitation. So that's the, I even paid some company to generate my documents, but still, I don't know what the reason. That's a little bit kind of like negative example. But I myself is quite positive, because I have I'm working at a good institute. They offer me a job too when I get the position next.
Would be my tip. Also apply at not companies, but at research institutions. For example, also for EU projects, because there you have to declare that you are that you don't discriminate people from other companies, from other countries. And if you have then work experience in Austria at an institute well known in Austria, then it's maybe I don't know, maybe a difference.
Sorry.
I'm sorry that
question, yeah.
I'm sorry that this is your experience. It should not be. So it's not allowed in Austria to discriminate people because due to their nationality.
No, I don't say they discriminate, but I just don't know the reason why. I suppose my CV is quite okay, publication check. Also, I cannot say the best from our institute, almost the first class, but still waiting for the invitation of the interviews. But anyway, thank you very much.
But maybe you can. So I think the ÖGMBT has a career fair planned where they also do CV checks. Maybe you can use this one if you're interested in, just to get an objective.
Yeah, that's good information. Yeah. I'll keep my eyes on. Yeah, thank you.
When you're interested, maybe there you.
Yeah, thank you.
You have input. Yeah, you're welcome.
There are two more questions in the chat. One of them by Jakob. How much polishing can you do in your application? I have done X, but only for a couple of weeks or within a university course internship. Obviously, you have to be very clear in the interview.
Polishing, yeah, that it shines, but it's there. So don't lie, but highlight. So this is also a tip maybe for the CV. If you've done a lot of internships, or if you've done a lot of practicas outside of your study, highlight those that are relevant for the job. So your CV does not have to include everything you did before you had your degree, but it should has everything that might be relevant to show that you have the qualification for this job. I have done X, but only for a couple of weeks and or within a university. You have done X. Yes. So don't put there that you only have done it in a couple of weeks, only a few weeks. If it's important for the job profile, then tell it. You don't have to add that you only done it for a couple of weeks. If they ask you in a job interview, then you should not lie.
There is one question by Jose. Is there an information source you would recommend to get proper info on the hiring practices culture in the DACH area?
What culture? Sorry,
DACH, D-A-C-H area. Deutschland, Österreich.
Yeah, DACH, Deutschland, Österreich, Schweiz.
Yeah.
The hiring practices culture. I'm not sure. So there is no homepage I can recommend where you can find insights on recruiting processes in the DACH area. Because this is also something the companies not always share in detail. So I'm sorry, I can't give you here an information source. Maybe also Kununu or Glassdoor, because their applicants also can evaluate the application process. So people going there, or even if they didn't get hired, they can give a feedback there, unasked, how the application process was. Yeah, but there's no really internet source where I can recommend. I don't know one where you can really get a good overview about the hiring practices.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Welcome.
And apparently one last question by Julia. Is it possible to offend the company by wanting too much compensation, so losing the job opportunity because of that?
Yes, if it's completely unrealistic. Because when I have a job where we can pay 40,000 euros per year, and the applicant tells me he wants to earn 80,000 euros per year, then this is so far away from something we can offer that we don't have to discuss because we won't be able to meet. And if we could then agree on 50,000, I know from my perspective that we will have the discussion in 1 year again. So if it's completely incoherent, then yes.
Mm-hmm. And Jose then asks, could you spell the first website, not the Glassdoor, but I can write it down also. It's Kununu.
Kununu.
Yeah, okay, yes. Thank you. Are there any more questions from the audience? I would still like to invite you to fill in the feedback form for Julia, for her presentation and for sharing her tips and tricks. Yeah, I guess no more questions.
Welcome, I enjoyed it. Yes.
Yeah. Then I guess it's time for us to close this event.